Hey guys, so we're going to continue talking about fractions with denominators of tenths and hundredths today. So on Friday, we just talked about making them equivalent, so changing tenths to hundredths. And then yesterday, we talked about how you add them together. So we added a little bit more to it. So today, we're going to be looking at 3 example problems, and then you're going to be responsible for completing problems 4 through 10. Okay, so I'm going to do 1 through 3. Okay, I'll do 1, and then the other 2 we'll probably do as we do. And so again, I will give you access to the example problems that I do, so you can see what I've worked out. So you will have that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. So here is what you should see. So it'll say refined fractions as tenths and hundredths at the top. And so we're going to look at some examples. So we're going to look at this example problem first. That's on the very first page here. So let me get all set up here. Okay, so, whoops. We don't want that on there. All right, now, this says a farmer plants corn in 68 hundredths of his field and beans in 3/10ths of the field. What fraction of his field does the farmer plant with corn and beans? So it shows you how you could do it with a model, okay? So if you count all of this corn here that is there, it is 68 over 100, okay? And then if you look at the beans is 3/10ths or 30 over 100, because if you count each individual box, it adds up to 30 on the beans, okay? So I know that I need to add these together. So 68 over 100 plus 30 over 100 equals what? Equals 98 over 100. So I know that. If I didn't know how to work it out, I could just look here and see that I only have 2 squares that aren't shaded in. So I could do 100 minus 2 and get my 98. Okay, so you have a couple of options there on how to solve it. So let's go ahead and let's look at this example. Okay, so number 1 where it says apply it. So I'm going to do this one, and then we're going to work on number 2 and number 3 together. So this one says, what is the sum of 7/100ths and 1/10? Show your work. So I'm going to start. I'm going to circle what's important. So 7/100ths is important. 1/10 is important. Okay. So I know that I need to add these two together. 7 over 100 plus 1/10. But I know my denominators are not the same, and they have to be. So I need to multiply both the top and the bottom, the numerator and the denominator, by 10. So now I'll have 7 over 100. 10 times 1 is 10. 10 times 10 is 100. So now I have 7 hundredths plus 10 hundredths. And if you remember from yesterday, you do not add the denominators. So that stays the same. So your number stays the same on the bottom as long as you're adding. So 7 plus 10 is 17. So my answer is 17 hundredths. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Let me add my drawing tool so we can see everything. All right, so I'm going to read the problem. I'm going to give you a little bit to try and work it out on your own, and then we'll talk about the answer. So Jared, Consuela, and Reggie have an ant farm. Jared collected 25 hundredths of the ants for the ant farm. Consuela collected 6/10ths of the ants. What fraction of the ants did Jared and Consuela collect all together? So I want you to try and figure it out on your own, work your problem out, and then when we come back here in just a second, we'll work it out together. Okay, so I know the first thing I need to do is circle my important information. So I know that 25 hundredths is important and 6/10ths is also important, okay? So I know that I need to add those together because they want how many did they collect, what fraction did they collect all together and I have to show my work. Okay, so 25 hundredths plus 6 tenths. My denominators are not the same, okay? So I have to make them the same. So that means that this fraction gets multiplied by 10 on the numerator and the denominator, okay? So now if I do that, I'll have 25 over 100. 6 times 10 is 60. 10 times 10 is 100. Remember, your denominator stays the same. It doesn't change. You do not add those together. So now I just need to add my 25 and my 60, which would be 85. So on this one, my answer is 85 over 100, okay? So one last example problem here. All right, so I'm going to read it. I'm going to give you a second to work it out, and then we'll talk about it. So Heath has 100 trading cards. Space exploration cards make up 7 100ths of his card collection. Baseball cards make up 7 tenths of his card collection. Together, the space exploration and baseball cards make up what fraction of Heath's card collection? So I want you to go ahead, solve your problem, and when we come back here in just a second, we'll work it out together. Okay, so let's look at this. We have 7 100ths and 7 tenths, okay? So I know it says together they make up what fraction of Heath's card collection. So together, I know I'm going to add those together. So I have 7 over 100 plus 7 over 10. Again, my denominators don't match, so I have to fix that. So I'm going to make this into 100. So now I have 7 over 100 plus 7 times 10 is 70. 10 times 10 is 100. So now I have 7 hundredths plus 70 hundredths. Again, my denominator stays the same. Okay, denominator stays the same. So I add 70 plus 7 is 77. Okay, so which answer is correct? Answer is D. I could have looked at these a few minutes ago and decided I know for sure that A is not it because 110 is not my denominator. You don't add them together. I also know that C is not it because you don't add your denominators again. So my only options were B and D. Okay? So the second part of this question says Ezra chose C as the correct answer. How did he get that answer? So Ezra chose C, which was 77 over 200. Okay? So how did he get that answer? So what Ezra did is on this step right here, okay, so we're looking at that second step that we did once we multiplied by 10, he added everything together. Instead of not adding his denominator, okay, because you're not supposed to add those together, he added his denominator to get 200. So that's how he got that. So he added the denominators, which is a big no-no. We don't do that. Do not add your denominators ever, okay? Now, so that's examples 1 through 3, okay? And then I'm going to show you quickly here. All right, so 1 through 3. So you're going to start on slide number 3. You'll do 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 8, 9, and 10, okay? So you'll see there's a few things. You may have to drag and drop some stuff. You may have to type in your answer. But also remember the last slide, that's where your work goes, okay? Take pictures of your work so I can see what you're doing. That way, if you're doing something wrong, I can go back and correct you, okay? So slides 3 and 4 are for you to work. You still need to work out 1 through 3. Okay, you still need to add the answers in there for those, which I just did with you. So that should be pretty easy for you to do. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you guys later.